Delighted to be joined by Gary Murphy ahead of the Irish Legends event happening in Mount Juliet this week. How's the prep going?
Good, yeah. I've practiced really well. Played nicely, so form is good. Very excited about playing at home. Really am. You know, I've been living up in Baltray for the last 25 years, so, you know, but Kilkenny is always home. So it's great. It's great to be in Mount Juliet. Special affinity with Mount Juliet too. Kind of grew up when it first opened. Grew up playing, kind of learning how to play proper golf, I'd say there. So, very excited. I've played 2 tournaments in Mount Juliet, an Irish Open as an amateur and the Irish PGA Championship. So, third time lucky this week.
Third time, 3 times a charm. You're getting a lot of reps in this year. Well, you were at the start of the year anyway. Have you picked up a little bit of an injury? And I see you weren't in the field in Barbados recently.
Yeah, I had to pull out. I was getting in last minute and then I had to pull out last minute, so it was kind of disaster. And I played there last year, and I was talking to Mark a couple of weeks ago with ferocious envy because he's off to Apes Hill.
He is.
The little rascal.
Yeah.
And it's for anyone. I'd never been to Barbados before, you know, and the famous Green Monkey that Dermot and JP and John Magnier own. Fortunate enough to get a game there last year. Played in a 5-ball. No one else on the course.
As you do.
Yeah, and I didn't know anything about Barbados, and it's an amazing island. Really safe. Beaches are unreal. But Apes Hill was a fabulous course.
It's Ron Kirby, isn't it?
Yeah. But when you go somewhere and you've loved it.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't play that well. The course was difficult, and I didn't have my best stuff. So I really wanted to go back this year. And when you're 52 and hurting your back and getting injured and missing trips to Barbados, you're kind of... There are not too many of them, so...
You're going for the hospitality more than the golf, nearly.
Well, honestly, it was kind of, you know, because it's a long trip over there. There's a lot of jet lag, so you're kind of all over the place. But I had, and I had a cool week. I played a Roddy Carr.
Yeah.
And he nearly broke his age the first round. Nearly beat his age. So it was a kind of cool week. So you didn't want to miss it. So that's why this week is a good opportunity to try, you know, make up for a little bit of lost ground. I've been away. I went to tour school. I played a few pro-ams in Turkey and Portugal, and you know, because it's quite enough in the winter time, so it's nice to get away. And it's the card in your pocket is, you know, I don't think there's anyone immune to it. So I'm kind of starting this week. It's my first kind of full event, so that's the challenge.
You had a hole in one this year as well, I seen.
I did, yeah. 10 years in between drinks. My last one was in Baltray on the 17th. 5-iron, which was a really good shot as well. And this one was a 9-iron down the hill from 175, I'll say. Yeah, and it was, and I'd hurt my back that day as well. So, bit of a theme there, unfortunately. But, yeah, it's, you know, loads of people have played lots of golf and never had them. So, I think every time, I haven't had that many. I've only had about 5 or 6, so. Yeah, it's cool. It's good.
5 or 6 more than I've had.
Never had one?
No, never had one. And all the golfs that I pretend to play, never had one. Came close a lot of times, but just never.
The secret is aim away from the flag, because no one can hit the ball straight.
Exactly. No, it is. It's a massive week to have championship golf back at Mount Juliet as well. You know, it's an underrated golf course in many ways.
It is, but and I think their association with professional golf is great too. You know, when the kind of first, you know, American style courses came in, they were kind of first up type of thing.
I remember the Lexus race back in the day. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And the PGA and stuff like that. It was really, really
no,
good.
They had 3 Irish Opens, really successful Irish Opens, and then they had American Express with Tiger and Ernie won, and they've supported the Irish PGA Championship as well. So it's you know, it's cool to have a Legends event here, and I think, you know, for the people that come out to watch, they'll be pleasantly surprised.
The standards are high.
Standards are high. You know, it's a little more. It's a slightly more relaxed environment. Yeah. You know, but once it gets down to business, and on Saturday, it's obviously Saturday finish this week, so you know, it'll be competitive, and there's a few young fellas coming on. Those young 50-year-olds. Which is scuppered me on a few events, so it's a big week for me to do well and try move up the rankings. Yeah,
and it is like for an event like, what are your expectations going into a week like this at home? Like it's hard to find your feet as such when you're not golfed so much coming into it.
Yeah, a couple of things. I know the course really well. I'm looking forward to competing on it again. My expectations are always too high. Therein lies the problem. I want to win. Of course I want to win. That's the reason that I kind of started back playing again was to try. I saw Stephen Dodd win the British Seniors at Sunningdale, and we're back there again this year. And I just thought that's pretty cool. He's an old fellow with the belly like me, but he can still play damn good golf. I think a top 10, if I play well, top 10 is a good goal. And then you just need a bit of luck, the other side of that. Like I played really well in Sea Point last year. I putted really poorly the first day, which cost me. I only finished 3 back. So if I can play, I need to play my best. That's just the reality of it. There's still some very good players out there. Scott Hend is, for a senior golfer, he's very dynamic. Still hits it miles and putts crazy when he's on. He's real streaky. But it's a good challenge. Stephen Gallagher's out on tour this year. David Drysdale. David Howell is coming out. Anthony Wall. Steve Webster. So there's a lot of guys that would have had, super solid careers. But it's different then because there's other guys that are, seasoned out here. Like Peter Baker has been, and Addison De Silva are on fire between them.
Addison De Silva's story just amazes me. We did a piece with him recently, actually, and he went into detail about like cutting branches off trees to make golf clubs out of them to practice with and stuff like that when he was doing an unbelievable story. We actually have it in the magazine this month on stuff like that. Just some real characters.
Times have changed a bit. The kids probably now, if they don't have a TrackMan or a GC Quad, can't play, so. And he's a great story because he'd a modest enough playing career. And then he turned 50 and I think he won his first event maybe in Austria. And off you go. And his game, it's not X Factor. He's just really steady and he makes no mistakes. That's the one thing. If you track him on tour, he makes the least amount of bogeys every week. That's my challenge this week.
It is. The battle's between the ears, isn't it?
Oh, totally, yeah. This game is...
It's bonkers.
Oh, it's 90% mental.
Yeah.
It is. But the help is that the competitive juices are still there. So it's trying to feed off that, not get too excitable. And you kind of know what the target is. It just seems to be 15 under every week. So if your stroke average is not 67, you're not holding up any trophies at the end of the week. So I've shot a lot of 67s around Mount Juliet, so I need 3 more.
Hopefully you get a bit of a crowd going as well, because you will have some nice home support. It does get the juices going and gets you in the zone.
Yeah, it was great last year in Sea Point because I was playing with Peter Baker, who was kind of the star attraction the final round. We're in the second last group, and there's a local guy doing well. And obviously I want to be the leading Irish player, but, if it's Peter or David, it's great at any event.
Yeah.
Scotty Scheffler won his home event a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm not going to shoot 31 under, and there's not going to be 100,000 at this, but it's just that added. I always loved playing the Irish Open. I had a decent record in Irish Opens, and I just love to be coming down the last couple of holes with a chance. That's all I want. It's up to me from there.
Always amazes me talking to you. Your enthusiasm and love for the game is still burns in you. Like you haven't lost that competitive.
I lost
mindset.
It. Like my last couple of years on tour were ferociously difficult, both mentally and physically, and I had to step away from the game, and I never thought I'd compete again. And then when I started working in the K Club, I thought, if I'm gonna give him playing lessons, I better be able to play. So, I've always been one through coaching that likes to demonstrate and show. I think that's important at times. And then I kind of start knocking it around a couple under again and got a little better and a little better. And then I went to my first event with no expectations, probably turned up in an asylum somewhere in Graz in Austria. And I finished 7th, and I had shot 10 under the last 2 rounds with no bogeys. I went, wow, that was enjoyable. Yeah. And that's kind of...
It's a drug.
Yeah, it is. And there's just no better feeling. And you just want to get it, a couple more times. And we go to some fabulous venues. There's a good bunch of guys. Everyone's a little bit more chilled out, within reason. And there's some great characters out there. And I think, the people that come down to watch this week will enjoy it.
You're a home course specialist around Mount Juliet, as you said yourself. Like you're familiar with it. What are the keys to unlocking a golf course like that? Like, what do you think will be vital for you next week?
I think driving the ball is key around there. I'm in reason a little bit longer than most of the players, so that's an advantage for me. But I've worked really hard on my wedge play over the winter, and I think if I can be tidy, it's a golf course. I wouldn't say it's a second shot golf course, but there's certainly little nuances to it. Jack Nicklaus always makes you think a little bit, and I know all the angles. It's trying to execute is the hard part. But I do think it'll be a high scoring or low scoring week. But there's mistakes to be made out there too. So trying to do the damage and not have any damage is the secret. But a hot putter would be nice too. That always helps. Makes up for a lot of bad stuff.
Does, 100%. Can't let you go without having a quick delve into the PGA, second major of the year as well. Coming into that, Rory hot off completing the Grand Slam. It was unbelievable.
Oh, it was. I mean, I sat at home with my little fella Daniel, is 13. He's mad into golf, and my daughter had her Irish oral the next morning, and now Rory didn't come up in the exam, but it was cool. It just reminded me of being a kid. My first real experience of it was Sandy Lyle, so it was lovely to share it with your young fella. And knowing Rory, my last few years on tour were his first couple, so I've always been very fond of him. An amazing golfer, but quite a good human being as well.
Yeah.
And you could just see the weight of the world was on his shoulders. So for him to do what he did, and it's done now.
Oh yeah.
And it's exciting too, because I do think it's time for him to move on as well, which he will do. But Tiger was special in 19, but I don't think it'll take a lot to beat that McIlroy Masters one.
I can only imagine what it was like being in between his ears for that back nine and like trying to control your hands and your feet and under that sort of pressure.
It's funny because normally when they're winning golf tournaments, things are going well. There's always a blip. But when you see a player of that caliber let the nerves get to him, and I think he'll learn a huge amount from it.
Oh, huge.
'Cause if you look back on YouTube, like his final round, just his golf shots, like it was so contrived all day. It wasn't him at all, and he was still able to get it done. So he has to find, a lot of solace in that, I think. And he's such an amazing player. But, as happened with Scheffler last year, he was phenomenal. Rory's raised his game enormously this year. And Scheffler wins a couple of weeks ago. DeChambeau is always dangerous, especially at a PGA, especially around Quail Hollow where he can use his... and he was very good in Korea. So I think it's set up for a phenomenal major, and hopefully he can add another one to it.
It'd be unbelievable, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. And, and then there's the Lowry factor.
100%.
Is he going to get a bounce off that? So, but I think it's a career. You don't deserve it in golf. You have to go earn it. But, it's a 10, 11 major career, I think.
Yeah.
And it's, hopefully the floodgates have opened.
No, hopefully. No, I appreciate that. But best of luck next week anyway. I'll be down. Looking forward to following you around, and hopefully you far exceed this top 10 that you're talking about and go there and win. Be a nice statement to make.
I'll be in a heap on the 18 green like Rory if it does happen. So,
right. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks.